So I had to sit back and think about it, and I didn't even think that I would be continuing this series, mainly because of the fact that I figured that in part one and part two and part three, like everything would need to be discussed. I mean, we talked about how we present ourselves to everybody. We talked about the divide between men and women, and we can't be foolish into believing that the black culture is the only culture that has a divide within itself. I mean, it just seems like it because we broadcast it. Everybody broadcasts. When we see something that's funny on social media, it gets reposted, and we know that it's not everybody. However, what does society know? Like, what do the children know? Right now, with everything that I'm looking at and everything that I've seen in just very recent times, they have something that was warned of us by Dr. back in the 70s and 80s. And what it is they take any masculine figure of a darker complexion and give it the appearance or the connotation or the hidden belief that that person may be effeminate. And I don't understand where this came from, but what's crazy is that everybody seems to join in with the fun and make fun of them. First of all, this thing disrespects people on many different levels. It disrespects people who are actually effeminate, and it disrespects a masculine alpha male. And this happens in every single race category, I believe. However, it gets broadcast with the darker complexion individuals. When I sit back and I look at a story that I seen on Instagram, it was crazy. It was talking about how the whole Tupac beef was really because he had some sort of love affair with P. Diddy and all this other nonsense. And it's like, for real? Like, this is what y'all doing for likes? Like, this is what y'all doing for views? What's really insane is that 20 or 30 years from now, someone can get a hold of that wasn't alive in this time and definitely wasn't alive in that time, and they can actually believe that to be true. There's so many stories in mysteries about our past that happened 100 years ago or 30 years or even 40 years ago, not even 100 years ago, that we're told about certain situations and we're told, oh well, this is the truth that y'all didn't know about. So if we didn't know about it, then how does the person presenting it know about it? How did they find out something that no one has ever known about before? You see, it's a danger to misrepresent someone for what they are. If an individual is effeminate and that's what he chooses to be, then that's his business. However, if a man is masculine, why try to portray him as anything but that? There's nothing toxic about masculinity. A man is supposed to be masculine. And now they have things about other musical rap musicians that people are trying to portray in this manner or that manner. But are you looking at like how things fast forward with all of that? Excuse me, I don't know if that squeaked or not. Are you looking at how things fast forward with all of that? Like, are you really sitting back and looking at the fact that your children or your children's children might grow up believing that this is what their past actually is, and it's all falsehoods, and other people are creating reasons for people to be this or people to be that. It's all of a sudden that any past masculine figure, truthfully of any race, people try to portray them, society tries to portray them as being effeminate in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Like I said, this disrespects men who are actually effeminate. They should be outraged, because they would be outraged if they were portrayed as anything but what they actually are or choose to be. So why is that happening? And why are people magnifying it with jokes? Like, being from Philly, we love a bit. Like, that's just the thing. Like, people love to get on people and everything like that and joke and this, that, and the third. But then, like, how do you learn the difference? And right now, as you live your life, you're creating history. And when you portray people in a light that they're not, then What are we doing here? In fact, why are you still broadcasting everything that you do? Everything ain't for everybody. Like, some business is private, some business is supposed to be private. And so why does it become a big thing? It's funny. I heard the late Kevin Samuels speak about it in an interview in his I believe it was his very last interview, and just listening to him talk about it, it made a lot of sense. If I think it was I forget who he did the interview with, but I believe it was one of his last interviews. And if you listen to it, like, you'll hear him even mention that. Like, why aren't there people outraged about that? Why aren't there individuals that are saying something against the false representation of a strong masculine man, especially one of a darker complexion? Since when did that become a bad thing? Society is definitely turning people or turning itself against itself, and is leading to a crazy road to destruction. And people are doing things now just strictly for entertainment. People are dividing themselves and creating false depictions of who people are strictly for entertainment, strictly for views. When is it going to stop? And then you got people in the comments that make fun of a straight individual as if he's effeminate. Jokingly, we feel like it doesn't cause any harm, but let's look at the long-term harm that it may cause. Let's look at, the children the children that have yet to exist now, believing that these things are actually true. If society was wiped away for whatever reason and restarted decades from now, and you looked at the things that are taking place on media and social media, what would the depiction of every individual be? Every individual, regardless of their race, would be a false depiction. Try to depict something that's actually true. Try not to put dirt on people's name for something that, if somebody chooses to be it, if it's okay, then it shouldn't be anything to make fun of. If you're making fun of it or you're talking down about an individual because of it, well, then is it really okay? Is it really the thing to do? I don't know. Let me know how you feel about that, though, because I feel like it adds to a divide amongst the culture of darker complexion individuals. People want to broadcast their life, but unfortunately, they're not doing anything to get them into a better situation. People are so focused on how things are in front of the camera and not putting enough emphasis on what's going on behind the camera. I can't comprehend that. Let me know how you guys feel about it. If you have any other questions, concerns, funny stories, anything you'd like to add, feel free to put it in the comments. If you like what I say, make sure that you hit the thumbs up button. If you dislike what I say, make sure you write dislike in the comments. And may everyone have a good morning, good afternoon, and a good evening.